Rafia Zakaria. This editorial exposes the dire plight of women in Pakistan. The world is angry, and in most places, women bear the brunt of this anger. Brunt is an idiom meaning the worst part, or major impact. This sentence means that while global anger is widespread, women disproportionately suffer. This International Women's Day. The latest report by UN Women states that 1 in 4 countries in the world reported a backlash on gender rights in 2024. Backlash means a strong adverse reaction. This sentence means that on Women's Day, UN Women's report reveals significant global resistance to gender rights. Over the past decade, the number of women living in conflict zones has surged by 50%, while women's rights defenders face daily threats, violence, and even death. Surged is a phrasal verb meaning increased dramatically. This sentence means that in the last 10 years, conflict has sharply increased for women, and rights activists face constant danger. In the U.S., the backlash has taken the form of laws restricting reproductive health care and banning diversity and equality programs that could enhance women's representation. This sentence means that in the United States, restrictive laws have limited women's health care and representation initiatives. In India, violence against women has risen from 56.3 cases per 100,000 women in 2014 to 66.4 in 2022. This sentence means that in India, incidents of violence against women have notably increased over 8 years. Unsurprisingly, the numbers from Pakistan rank second to last in the Gender Gap Index, 2024, just above Sudan, are dismal. Dismal means extremely poor or depressing. This sentence means that Pakistan's performance on gender equality is shockingly poor. A 2024 report by the Sustainable Social Development Organization, SSDO, reveals that while globally 30 PC of women face violence, in Pakistan, 90 PC of women have experienced violence in their lifetime. Sustainable Social Development Organization, SSDO, is a proper name for a research institute. This sentence means that whereas violence affects 30% of women worldwide, 90% of Pakistani women have suffered violence. A dire statistic. This statistic alone highlights how dire the situation is for Pakistani women compared to the rest of the world. This sentence means the data shows an alarmingly worse state for women in Pakistan. While laws exist, enforcement is weak, and access to justice is poor. This sentence means that despite having legal protections, their implementation is ineffective. As a result, only a minuscule percentage of women seek justice when raped, assaulted, or harassed. Minuscule means extremely small. This sentence means very few women pursue legal recourse due to systemic failures. The cumulative impact of gender-based violence leads to an estimated 80 million lost working days annually. Cumulative impact means the total effect over time. This sentence means that the combined effects of violence against women result in a huge loss of productivity. Even keeping in mind that crimes against women are severely underreported, the numbers remain alarming. This sentence means that even if actual figures are higher, the reported data is already shocking. According to SSDO, 5,339 rape cases were reported in Pakistan in 2024. This sentence means that official figures recorded 5,339 cases of rape in 2024. Given the social and cultural taboos against reporting rape, the actual figures are likely at least twice as high, if not more. Taboos means prohibitions based on social or cultural beliefs. This sentence means that due to stigma, the real number of rape cases is probably much higher. This illustrates the constant and unrelenting threat of sexual violence for any woman in Pakistan. Unrelenting means persistent without stopping. This sentence means that sexual violence remains an ongoing, serious risk for women. Whether inside their homes or outside, women remain at risk. This sentence means that women face dangers both in private and public spheres. The fact that only 0.5 PC of reported rape cases lead to prosecution means that for victims, justice is nearly impossible. 0.5 PC means 0.5%. This sentence means that very few rape cases result in legal action, making justice elusive. Worse still, those who do attempt to seek justice face structural discrimination, where evidence is not properly collected or analyzed, and cases are dismissed due to a lack of evidence. Structural discrimination means systemic bias within institutions. This sentence means that even when women seek justice, systemic failures lead to case dismissals. The victim, rather than the perpetrator, suffers immense social and cultural condemnation. This sentence means that societal blame falls on the victim, worsening their plight. Then there are the millions of smaller aggressions and indignities that Pakistani women face from the throngs of frustrated and angry men that surround them. Aggressions means acts of hostility. Indignities means insults or humiliations. Throngs means large crowds. This sentence means that beyond major violence, women suffer numerous daily insults from men. These include fathers, brothers, and husbands, but also relative strangers, men on the road if you are a female driver, fellow students, work colleagues all add to the mess. This sentence means that aggression comes from all sides: family, acquaintances, and strangers. A woman who shines at work faces resentment from men who may have been passed up for promotions and have no qualms against disparaging her. Disparaging means expressing disapproval. This sentence means that successful women at work are often resented and undermined by men. In other cases, just the daily oppression of men cracking lewd jokes, married bosses making passes, male colleagues leaving women out of meetings, and other microaggressions generally make women's lives miserable. Microaggressions means subtle, often unintentional insults. This sentence means that everyday sexist behaviors significantly worsen women's experiences. The resentment that many Pakistani men feel towards women who demand their rights and refuse to submit is palpable. Palpable means easily felt or perceived. This sentence means that the anger of men against assertive women is obvious. Pakistan's consistently dismal ranking, 145 out of 146 countries in gender parity, reflects deep-rooted structural inequalities. Dismal means extremely poor. Gender parity means equality between men and women. This sentence means that Pakistan's near-bottom ranking in gender equality shows severe systemic inequality. Despite more women in urban areas obtaining advanced degrees, including in STEM fields such as engineering and medicine, few enter the workforce and even fewer remain. STEM fields means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This sentence means that although urban women are educated, few work or sustain employment. This results in a society still trapped in cycles of economic dependence, where women rely on male guardians or live marginalized and isolated lives. Marginalized means pushed to the edge of society. This sentence means that the lack of workforce participation forces women into dependency and isolation. There are many women in Pakistan who have to fend for themselves and their children, but their stories are almost never at the center, and they and their experiences remain at the periphery. Fend for themselves means take care of themselves. Periphery means the outer limits or margins. This sentence means that many self-reliant women are ignored by mainstream society. Men treat them poorly, and other women see them as threats, making life a living hell for them. This sentence means that both men and women contribute to the mistreatment of independent women. Instead of providing state-supported networks to empower them, men are encouraged to marry them as an act of charity, as if they are lesser human beings who do not deserve respect and equal relationships. This sentence means that rather than empowering women, society often forces them into marriage as a form of control. The future being left to the next generation of Pakistani women, Gen Z, is neither warm nor welcoming. Gen Z means Generation Z. This sentence means that the prospects for young Pakistani women are bleak. The rigidity of government institutions and the impasse between conservative edicts and superficially progressive policies mean that no substantial change occurs. Rigidity means inflexibility. Impasse means a deadlock. This sentence means that conflicting policies and inflexible institutions prevent real progress. As a result, Pakistan remains an outlier, ranked at the bottom because its smug and self-satisfied men mock events like the Orat March, while never taking steps to improve the lives of women. Outlier means an exception or anomaly. Aurat March is an idiomatic reference to a women's rights protest. This sentence means Pakistan is isolated in gender equality due to the arrogance of its male leaders. It is undoubted that men in Pakistan have their own problems, but having one's own issues does not outlaw kindness and consideration. This sentence means that personal struggles do not excuse mistreatment of women. A patriarchal society turns dangerous when its men genuinely hate women, respecting them only when forced to by social or familial relations, and disrespecting them all the rest of the time when they are able to get away with it. Patriarchal society means a society dominated by male authority. This sentence means that deep-seated misogyny makes society dangerous for women. At workplaces, in homes, on the streets, and on the media, the pervasive disdain for women is evident. Pervasive means widespread. Disdain means contempt. This sentence means that the contempt for women is obvious everywhere. Political leaders rarely prioritize gender-based violence, treating it as an unfortunate reality rather than a crisis that demands urgent attention. This sentence means that politicians do not adequately address violence against women. The hostility is not just structural, it is also psychological. This sentence means that both systemic and mental attitudes contribute to the problem. The resentment that many Pakistani men feel towards women who succeed, who demand their rights, or who refuse to submit, is palpable. This sentence means that the anger against successful, assertive women is obvious. This resentment manifests in online abuse, with women journalists, activists, and politicians routinely facing threats of violence and harassment simply for expressing their opinions. Manifest means becomes evident. This sentence means that the resentment leads to severe online harassment against women. The anonymity of the internet has only emboldened these attitudes, allowing misogyny to flourish unchecked. Embodied here means encouraged, though the text uses emboldened. This sentence means that online anonymity strengthens misogynistic behavior. Pakistan in 2025 stands at this juncture, the second worst country among all nations in our man-hating world. Juncture means a critical point. This sentence means that Pakistan is among the worst in terms of misogyny. It is a place where a woman's rights are conditional, granted only when convenient, and taken away the moment they challenge the status quo. Conditional means dependent on circumstances. Status quo means the existing state of affairs. This sentence means that women's rights in Pakistan are temporary and easily revoked. Without a fundamental shift in societal attitudes, the country will continue to languish at the bottom of global gender equality rankings, offering little hope to the millions of women who deserve better. Languish means to deteriorate or fail to progress. This sentence means that without major change, Pakistan will remain a leader in gender inequality. The writer is an attorney teaching constitutional law and political philosophy. This sentence means the author is a legal scholar and educator, specializing in political theory. Rafia.Zakaria@gmail.com, published in Dawn, March 8, 2025.